Well, a very exciting day for sports fans all over the world. And also the Final Four is set in stone. We'll talk about that a little bit, which will take place next weekend. And Stephanie will be interviewing someone from KU Alternative Breaks. So we'll bring that to you guys later in the show today.
But first, we'll talk about wrapping up some loose ends with the KU basketball program. Of course, the loss in the second round of the NCAA tournament to Stanford. But some more news coming our way. This afternoon at 2 o'clock, Andrew Wiggins is holding a press conference. And so let's talk about what that is. We all expect an impending announcement to go to the NBA draft, and I think we all saw that coming with Andrew Wiggins.
Yeah, I think it's obvious. I mean, yes, he is an underclassman. A lot of KU fans would love for him to come back, but at the end of the day, it's about what benefits the player the most. And for Andrew Wiggins, he's a top 5 pick most likely, possibly even number 1. We'll see what happens with him and Parker and maybe even Embiid, as those three have kind of traded spots in mock drafts for that one spot. But at the end of the day, he's a top 5 guy, so it'd be a smart decision for him to go.
So you mentioned Joel Embiid. The back issues have kind of lingered with him and have had a little bit of an effect on his draft stock. Still no exact report. There have been some. Talk about the latest on Joel Embiid's situation regarding declaring for the NBA draft.
Yeah, last Thursday it was Andrew Wojnarowski from Yahoo Sports who mentioned that Embiid will be going to the NBA, according to a source now. Since that announcement, Embiid did go on Twitter. He was showered with all these congratulations tweets, but he then went on and said he responded and said that he's not going to the NBA. He doesn't even know yet. So we don't know what the situation is. But Embiid, even with this injury, I think it's kind of a surprise. He's still a top 5 pick. So at the end of the day, I think Embiid will eventually go on. His announcement has yet to come still, though.
So Embiid, we don't know. We all fully expect Wiggins to declare today for the NBA draft. Now, this is kind of big for Coach Bill Self. He has not had a superstar that he has coached and brought to Kansas in the NBA. You have good players like Nick Collison and Kirk Hinrich playing good basketball. Paul Pierce was before the Bill Self era, so that is a little bit of a different story. Let's talk about some of these NBA players from KU and how they're doing in the NBA right now.
Yeah, well, I mean, Ben McLemore just this past weekend had, I think, a season high in scoring with the Kings this weekend. So he's been really stepping it up lately. But you mentioned Paul Pierce. He's a longtime Boston Celtic, also a former NBA Finals MVP. The same year KU won the national championship under Self. He's been really doing a lot of things for New Jersey, but. The Morris twins, they're both in Phoenix right now. I think it's Markieff who's having the slightly better season, just doing a lot. And one player who's kind of went under the radar, I think, is Xavier Henry. He was in KU for a year. The Lakers are just having all kinds of problems, but Xavier Henry's kind of been a bright spot. I think when you look forward in trying to rebuild the Lakers and when you bring back Kobe Bryant and also consider that who they might draft, and there's also rumors that they may trade a lottery pick for Kevin Love. I hope they can build around Xavier Henry and use him as one of the bright spots going into next year because he's been a really big impact player, kind of like how we see Mario Chalmers right now for the Miami Heat and helping the Big Three eventually accomplish winning 2 NBA titles.
So Kirk Hinrich and Nick Collison, kind of the earliest generation, been around the league for about 10 years now. Yeah. Then you have guys like Thomas Robinson, Ben McLemore, Jeff Withey coming in and bringing the new generation. It'll be interesting to see how Andrew Wiggins translates into the NBA. Obviously, a load of athleticism, but a lot of raw skill and maybe not refined as of now. So we'll take a break. We'll go to Stephanie with a representative from KU Alternative Breaks after the break.
Hi, I'm Stephanie Bickle, and I'm here with Hannah Sitz from KU Alternative Breaks. She's the co-director. First, can you tell us a little bit about Alternative Breaks, just for viewers who aren't as familiar with it?
Sure. Well, thank you for having me. Alternative Breaks is a fully student-run KU campus organization. We send groups of students all across the country during the major academic breaks to do service projects. So we're really service learning and combining the hands-on service with kind of some educational components.
Okay, perfect. And the speaker on Thursday at 7 p.m. in the Alumni Center. Can you tell us a little bit about that and how that will apply to people interested in alternative breaks?
Sure. So this Thursday, J.D. Steyer, who actually has worked extensively in the White House and a variety of nonprofits. He's a really great speaker, really cool kind of personal story. He's coming to speak on how to kind of translate volunteerism to advocacy and how he, in his personal journey, has kind of transformed and made some of the things that we talk about in our Alternative Breaks experiences into a lifelong career. So I think it's really applicable to, people who are on Alternative Breaks, but even people who are just interested in exploring a new career path. So.
Perfect. And so, like you talked about JD, can you explain a little bit about what he did more?
Sure. So JD one of the things that we think is pretty cool is that he's still, relatively young and has accomplished so much, and so very inspiring in that aspect. He also works with the Enough Project, and so that deals with issues in the Congo and the Sudans, kind of just bringing activism and advocacy and speaking out on some of these big issues that beforehand other people weren't really speaking up about.
Perfect. Well, that sounds like a great opportunity for any students interested in alternative breaks and who already have done one. So thank you so much, Hannah, for coming on.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Maggie Stout.
And I'm Cody Cooper, and this is your Monday Good Morning KU News Update. Today is the deadline to enroll in the Affordable Care Act. Open enrollment ends at midnight tonight, and there will be a penalty for those who do not have health insurance by tomorrow morning. The fine will be levied as part of next year's federal income tax. Early this morning, there were reports that healthcare.gov had gone down, but the Department of Health and Human Services has said that the problem was just part of routine maintenance.
The Ebola virus has returned to raise fear and caution in Guinea. 70 people have already died from the virus, which has a fatality rate of up to 90%. More than 110 people have grown ill from suspected cases of the virus in neighboring Liberia and Sierra Leone. The aid group Plant International has stated that poor living conditions and lack of water sanitation can lead to a higher risk of catching the virus.
A fatal accident occurred on I-70 early Saturday morning when a tractor-trailer crashed into a Kansas Turnpike toll booth near Tonganoxie. The accident resulted in the death of the driver, a 30-year-old man from Colorado, while the passenger of the car is in critical condition and was airlifted to KU Medical Center. Following the crash, both east and westbound lanes of the highway were closed for over an hour while first responders arrived on the scene.
North Korean artillery shells forced the evacuation of residents of 5 South Korean islands earlier this morning. Both North and South Korea have fired artillery into each other's waters, according to USA Today. No shells from either side were fired at any land or military installations.
It's been a week since a massive mudslide occurred in Washington State's North Cascade Mountains. The official death toll now stands at 21, with 30 still missing. The search is slow, dangerous, and full of challenges, but the rescuers are unrelenting as they continue.
For a bit of fun news, Las Vegas opens the world's tallest Ferris wheel, called the High Roller, today at 1 p.m. It is 550 feet tall at the highest observation point and is guaranteed to attract many thrill-seeking tourists.
Today's opening day, but the Royals will be on the road. However, Kauffman Stadium made TripAdvisor's 10 best ballparks to visit in the United States. This season will mark the Royals' 42nd season in the ballpark. Since 1973, the K has hosted more than 72 million fans.
Chancellor Bernadette Gray Little announced on Friday a revised athletic fee, lowering the fee from $25 to $7. However, this does mean that the Student Recreation Fitness Center fee will be increased by $12 from its current $7.50. Overall, this plan will drop athletic revenue by $340,000, and fees charged to students will be reduced by $6.
And that will wrap it up for our news update. After a break, Stephanie will be back with sports and the weather.
I'm Stephanie Bickle, and I'm here to give you your sports update. The overall #1 seed, Florida, was the first team on Saturday to punch their ticket to the Final Four in Dallas by beating #11 seed Dayton 62-52. The Gators' Scotty Wilbekin led the team with 23 points. This trip marks Florida's 5th Final Four. In an overtime thriller, #2 seed Wisconsin defeated #1 seed Arizona 64-63 on Saturday. Center Fred Kaminsky carried the Badgers to the Final Four, scoring 28 points with 6 in overtime. This was the 7th overtime game of this year's tournament. 7 seed UConn defeated 4 seed Michigan State 60-54 on Sunday. Shabazz Napier scored 17 of his 25 points in the second half. This is the first time since 1985 that a 7 seed will be in the Final Four. Kentucky may have not gone 40-0 like their fan-made preseason t-shirts read, but their hopes are still alive for a national championship. 8 seed Kentucky stunned #2 seed Michigan on Sunday, winning 75-72. The Wildcats' Aaron Harrison hit game-winning three-pointer with 2.3 seconds left on the clock to secure their 16th trip to the Final Four. And that's all I have for the sports. And now let's go over to Emma with the weather. Emma, how is it out there?
Hey Stephanie, it is gorgeous out here, mimicking both those sunny skies and warm temperatures that we saw yesterday. Right now it's about 65 and windy. Students in shorts and sandals, making that walk to class that much more enjoyable.
How is it looking for the rest of the week?
As for the rest of the week, we're going to actually dip into the lower 50s and maybe upper 60s.
Okay, well, thank you, Emma. Students enjoy
You
your...
can expect thunderstorms for both Wednesday and...
All right, well, we're having a little bit of technical difficulties, but thank you so much, Emma, for the weather update. And after the break, we'll go over to Farzine and Jackson.
Welcome back to our final segment here on Good Morning KU. Farzine Vasugian alongside Jackson Long here. Let's talk about the Final Four real quickly. It's set in stone. We've got it next week. The 4 teams that we have right now, number 1 Florida facing number 7 Connecticut, and then the later game will be number 2 Wisconsin and number 8 Kentucky. Who's had the most impressive run to the Final Four, you think?
I think thus far it's Kentucky. Kentucky's gone through 3 teams that were in last year's Final Four. They beat Wichita State in their second game of the tournament, then beat Louisville, and a lot of teams thought that Louisville would be one of the contenders for the national championship. And then in the final game, they beat Michigan. Those 3 teams were all in the Final Four last year, so I think an impressive run from Kentucky so far. You're starting to see the athleticism and just pure talent on that team mold together, and it's really been impressive in the last 3 games of the tournament.
And with the end of college basketball means the beginning of baseball. This week is opening week here in baseball. A lot of teams playing their opening game for the first time today, including the Kansas City Royals. A lot of expectations now. It's been a while. I think baseball fans here around the area are hungry for not just winning a lot of games, but just going into the playoffs. What do you see in the Royals this year?
Well, it's been 29 years coming for the Royals. They won the World Series in 1985 with George Brett. Haven't been back to the playoffs since, and so there's a big time playoff drought. Actually, the longest in the 4 major professional sports in America. That 29 years, and they actually had their best season since then, winning 86 games last year. The expectations are pretty high for the Royals. There are a lot of very smart and well thought of experts that think the Royals will make it into the playoffs this year. Of course, there's the addition of a second wild card team, so that helps the Royals get at least a little bit better chance of making the postseason. But this team is one that a lot of people think can contend for the division and maybe even more. With they filled a couple holes at second base and right field, so I think that this is a Royals team that definitely can make some noise in the American League.
Now, the Boston Red Sox, they were 69-93 when they were last place in 2012, and then they won the World Series the following year, last place in their division in the AL East. So they've proven that even teams that were struggling the year before, they can win it all. So it could be anyone's ball game this year. Who do you see in the World Series this year?
It sounds, I guess, a little cliche. The Dodgers versus the Tigers, and they have the biggest payrolls in the league, at least in the top 5. Miguel Cabrera just got a huge contract for the Tigers, putting him playing through age 41, which is an incredible, over $300 million. Yeah. But the Dodgers have so much talent, such a great pitching staff. The Tigers are the same way, and of course they have the best hitter in baseball, Miguel Cabrera, the best pitcher in baseball, Clayton Kershaw for the Dodgers. I see those 2 teams matching up. It's unfortunate for the Royals being in the same division as the Tigers, for you Royals fans. But those, I think, are the 2 best teams on paper. And at this point in the season, when you haven't seen teams play, you have to go with how they look structurally.
Who wins and in how many games?
I think the Dodgers win based on pitching, but I think it's 6 games. It's really pretty early. They play 162 games to figure it out. But the best part about baseball is you get to see it every day. And so six games a week, you get 3 hours of watching your favorite team and a little bit lack of productivity. But you get to watch that every day of the week, and it's good. It's good to have the baseball back, especially with KU basketball being done on the hardwood.
Yeah, and facing the Tigers should be interesting, as the Royals will face the Tigers on the road today at 1 o'clock. So we'll see if the Royals can face some of the best in baseball this year. That'll do it for this edition of Good Morning KU. I'm Farzine Vasugian.
I'm Jackson Long.
And we will come back to you next week, same time, same place. Thanks for watching.